The abandoned research station on Europa's surface wasn't supposed to have any signs of life. That's what made Dr. Naomi Rivera's discovery all the more extraordinary. Through the station's frost-covered windows, she saw something moving with unmistakable purpose, not the random shifting of machinery or the dance of ice crystals in Jupiter's radiation, but deliberate, thoughtful movement. "There's definitely someone in there," she whispered into her suit's comm, adjusting the settings on her helmet's display to filter out the glare from Jupiter's massive form hanging in the sky. "And there, reading." "That's impossible," Dr. Raj Patel's voice crackled through the channel. "Station Beta 7 has been abandoned for 15 years. Life support shouldn't even be functional." Yet there it was, a figure seated in what had once been the station's library, surrounded by old-style paper books and tablets, moving with an eerily human grace. The figure was tall and slender, with a silvery blue sheen to their skin that seemed to ripple in the dim emergency lighting. "I'm going in," Naomi decided, ignoring Raj's immediate protests. "We've been studying anomalous energy signatures from this station for months. Now you know why." The airlock cycled with surprising efficiency, suggesting someone had been maintaining it. As Naomi stepped inside, her suit's sensors indicated breathable atmosphere, another impossibility. She kept her helmet on anyway. 15 years of protocol that didn't vanish in a moment of curiosity. The interior of the station was immaculate. No dust, no decay, no signs of the abandonment that should have claimed it years ago. The temperature was a perfect 22 degrees Celsius. Someone had been maintaining everything with meticulous care. As she approached the library, she heard something that made her freeze, humming. Not the hum of machinery or the station's systems, but an actual melody. The tune was hauntingly familiar, something she couldn't quite place, but knew she had heard before. The figure didn't turn as she entered the library, though Naomi was certainly knew she was there. Up close, she could see that their form was only vaguely humanoid. Their skin had a translucent quality, with patterns of light moving beneath it like aurora borealis in miniature. Where hair should be, there were delicate tendrils that moved of their own accord, each one tipped with what looked like tiny bioluminescent nodes. "Hello," Naomi said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "I'm Dr. Naomi Rivera from the Europa Research Initiative." The figure carefully placed a bookmark in their book. Naomi noticed it was a well-worn copy of The Little Prince, before turning to face her. Their eyes were the most startling feature, large, iridescent orbs that seemed to contain entire galaxies within them. "I was wondering when someone would finally notice." The figure spoke, their voice carrying a musical quality that seemed to resonate with the very air around them. "My name is Lyra, though that's not my true name. I chose it from one of these books because I thought it sounded pretty." Naomi found herself removing her helmet, driven by an instinct she couldn't explain. The air tasted clean, with a slight sweetness she'd never encountered before. "How long have you been here? By your measurements of time." Lyra tilted their head in a surprisingly human gesture. 13 years, 4 months, and 17 days. I've been counting." They gestured to a wall where neat tally marks had been inscribed, each one glowing faintly with the same bioluminescence as their tendrils. "Alone." "Not entirely." Lyra stood, moving with a fluid grace that made them seem almost weightless. "I have the books, the stories, the recordings left behind. I've learned so much about humans. How do you think? How you feel? How you love and dream and hope." They ran a finger along the spine of a nearby book. "I needed to understand." "Understand what?" Lyra's expression shifted in a way that transcended their alien features, conveying a deep sadness that needed no translation. Why my people were so wrong about yours, and why, despite everything that happened, I couldn't stay away. Before Naomi could ask what they meant, her comm crackled to life. Dr. Rivera, we're picking up multiple ships entering Europa's orbit. They're not ours. Lyra's tendrils rippled with patterns of light that Naomi would later learn indicated alarm. They've found me, they whispered. I knew they would eventually. The question is, are you going to turn me in? Naomi looked at the book still clutched in Lyra's hands, at the careful way they had maintained this abandoned outpost, at the wall of tally marks that spoke of years of solitary dedication to understanding humanity. She made her decision. Raj, she spoke into her comm, initiate Protocol Omega. We're about to have some uninvited guests, and we need to make sure they don't find what they're looking for. As she helped Lyra gather their most precious books and prepare for evacuation, Naomi couldn't shake the feeling that she was about to uncover something far bigger than a single mysterious alien hiding in an abandoned research station. The way Lyra spoke about humans, the obvious care they had taken to preserve this place, the ships now bearing down on them, it all pointed to a story that would challenge everything humanity thought they knew about their place in the cosmos. What she didn't realize was that this was just the beginning of a tale that would redefine the relationship between humans and the stars themselves. The evacuation pod carved through Europa's thin atmosphere, leaving behind the only home Lyra had known for over a decade. Dr. Rivera watched as their mysterious companion pressed a hand against the viewport, their bioluminescent tendrils pulsing with what she now recognized as emotional patterns. In this case, a mixture of regret and anticipation. Your ship's systems. Lyra spoke suddenly, their voice carrying that same musical quality that seemed to resonate with the metal around them. They're singing out of tune. Before anyone could respond, Lyra's tendrils extended, their lights synchronizing with the pod's emergency lighting. A high-pitched whine that nobody had even noticed was there suddenly disappeared, and the entire vessel seemed to run more smoothly. Dr. Petal, who had been monitoring the engine output, let out a startled gasp. Efficiency just jumped by 30%. That's impossible. Not impossible, Lyra corrected gently. Just forgotten. My people, the harmonious, as you might translate it, once helped design many of the systems your species now uses. We can hear the mathematics behind technology, feel the rhythms of machinery. It's why we were such valuable partners before. They trailed off, their skin darkening to a deep indigo. Another emotional indicator that Naomi was learning to read. The pursuit ships were gaining on them, their energy signatures growing stronger on the pod's sensors. But instead of fear, Lyra's expression showed something closer to resignation. I suppose it's time I explained why they're chasing me, they said, settling into one of the pod's acceleration chairs. But first, I need to show you something. May I borrow your tablet, Dr. Rivera? Naomi handed over her device, watching in fascination as Lyra's tendrils created intricate patterns of light above its surface. The tablet's screen flickered, then displayed a three-dimensional hologram that should have been impossible with its basic hardware. This was my world, Lyra explained, as an image of a beautiful crystalline city materialized in the air. We lived in harmony with technology, understanding it as an extension of the natural world rather than a replacement for it. When we first encountered humans, we found kindred spirits, beings who created music, art, stories, who dreamed of touching the stars. The hologram shifted, showing scenes of human and harmonious cooperation, massive engineering projects, cultural exchanges, scientific breakthroughs. But then the images began to darken. But there were those among both our peoples who feared what we were becoming together. They believed that such close cooperation would lead to the loss of what made each species unique. Among my people, a movement grew, the Purists. They claimed that our connection to technology was being corrupted by human influence, that we were losing our ability to hear the true songs of the universe. Dr. Patel interrupted, his eyes wide with realization. The Great Silence, 20 years ago, when your people suddenly withdrew from all contact. It wasn't an unanimous decision. Lyra's voice carried a deep sorrow. Many of us fought against it. My family, we were researchers, like you. We believed that our differences made us stronger, not weaker. But the Purists gained control of our government. They didn't just want to end cooperation. They wanted to erase all evidence that we had ever worked together at all. The hologram showed scenes of destruction, libraries burning, research stations being abandoned, joint colonies being evacuated. They called it the purification. Those of us who resisted were given a choice, conform or exile. My parents chose a third option. They hid me away in that station, hoping that someday things would change. And the ships following us? Naomi asked, though she suspected she knew the answer. Purifier vessels. They've been searching for people like me, the ones who refused to forget, who still believe in what we could accomplish together. Lyra's tendrils pulsed with a determined brightness. That station wasn't just a hiding place. It was a repository. Every book, every record, every piece of human culture I could preserve. Evidence that our people's friendship wasn't a mistake. The pod shuddered as another vessel appeared ahead of them, massive, sleek, and definitely not human in design. But instead of panic, Lyra's colors shifted to something bright and hopeful. Ah, they said, their voice carrying a note of triumph. Right on schedule. Did you really think my parents would leave me all alone, Dr. Rivera? There are others who remember. Others who have been waiting for the right moment to prove that the Purists were wrong. As the massive ship opened its docking bay to receive their pod, Naomi realized that their discovery of Lyra wasn't just a coincidence. It was the beginning of something much bigger, a resistance that had been waiting in the shadows, preparing for the day when humans and the harmonious might find their way back to each other. The resistance vessel, Concordia, was unlike anything Naomi had ever seen. Its corridors seemed alive with subtle harmonics, walls pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that mirrored the emotional states of its harmonious crew. But what struck her most was how the ship seamlessly blended human and harmonious design, a physical manifestation of what could be achieved through cooperation. "Welcome to the last free ship of the combined fleet," announced a tall harmonious who introduced himself as Ven, his tendrils shimmering with commanding authority. Unlike Lyra's silvery blue hue, his skin held a deep purple tone that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "We've been maintaining radio silence for 15 years, waiting for the right moment." They gathered in what appeared to be a conference room, though the chairs adjusted themselves automatically to accommodate both human and harmonious physiologies. Holographic displays flickered to life around them, showing scenes from the golden age of cooperation between their species. "Before I tell you what we're planning," Ven began, "you need to understand what we lost. Lyra, would you show them?" Lyra stepped forward, their tendrils extending to interact with the ship's systems. The room darkened, and suddenly they were surrounded by memories made manifest. This was new harmony. Lyra's voice resonated with the ship's harmonics as they showed a sprawling city where crystalline spires merged with human architecture. The first true joint colony. Humans learned to feel the mathematics of sound from us, while we learned to dream in new ways from you. Together, we were beginning to understand the universe's deeper rhythms. The images shifted to show massive engineering projects. Solar sails that caught stellar winds with unprecedented efficiency, engines that sang in perfect harmony with space-time itself, medical techniques that blended harmonious resonance healing with human biological understanding. But then came the discord. Venn continued, his color darkening. It started small, philosophical debates about cultural preservation, concerns about losing our unique identities. The purists claimed that humans were infecting our natural harmonies with chaos, while human isolationists argued that we were becoming too dependent on harmonious technology. The holographic displays showed protests turning violent, joint projects being abandoned, and finally, the day the harmonious government announced their complete withdrawal from all human contact. What most humans don't know, Lyra added, is that the withdrawal wasn't just political. It was enforced with memory modification technology. The purists used our own resonance abilities against us, trying to make our entire species forget the depth of our connection with humanity. Dr. Patel leaned forward, his scientific curiosity evident. But you and the others here remained immune. Some of us were naturally resistant, Venn explained. Others, like Lyra's family, developed countermeasures. We've spent these years gathering evidence, preserving memories, and waiting for the right moment to show both our peoples the truth. Naomi watched as more memories played out around them, secret meetings between resistant, harmonious, and human allies, hidden archives being established, and a network of safe houses spread across the solar system. But why now, she asked. What's changed? Lyra and Venn exchanged meaningful glances, their tendrils synchronizing in a complex pattern. The purists' control is weakening, Lyra explained. Their attempts to maintain the memory modifications are failing. More and more of our people are beginning to remember, to question. But more importantly, they paused, their color shifting to a bright, hopeful hue. We've discovered something that proves our peoples were meant to work together. The holographic display shifted one final time, showing what appeared to be ancient ruins on a distant moon. But these weren't just any ruins. They contained both human and harmonious writing, dating back thousands of years before either species had achieved spaceflight. This is impossible, Dr. Patel whispered, but Naomi could see the evidence clearly. The mathematics, the harmonics, the very architecture of the ruins suggested that humans and the harmonious had encountered each other long ago, in some forgotten chapter of both their histories. The purists know about this discovery, Venn said grimly. It's why they've become desperate to find any remaining evidence of human harmonious cooperation. If this knowledge becomes public, their entire justification for separation crumbles. But exposing this truth won't be easy. Lyra cautioned, their color shifting to a warning red. The purists still control most of our communication networks, and they have allies among human isolationists who prefer things as they are. We'll need help, from both species, to reveal the truth and rebuild what was lost. Naomi looked around the room, at these beings who had risked everything to preserve the memory of cooperation between their peoples. The choice seemed clear. Tell us what you need, she said firmly. It's time both our species remembered who we really are. As if in response to our words, the ship's harmonics shifted to a more powerful resonance, and Naomi could have sworn she heard what Lyra had mentioned earlier, the very mathematics of space singing around them, waiting for both species to join in its chorus once again. The Concordia's warning systems blared to life just as Naomi finished reviewing the ancient documents. Harmonious script intertwined with proto-human languages in patterns that defied conventional understanding, but left no doubt about their shared history. Multiple purifier vessels detected, announced Venn, his tendrils flickering with urgent patterns. They'd brought their flagship, the Silencer. Through the ship's viewing ports, Naomi watched as a massive vessel emerged from fold space, its hull adorned with crystalline structures that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Unlike the harmonious blend of technology on the Concordia, the silencer radiated discord, a deliberate rejection of the balance between human and harmonious design. Their broadcasting, Lyra reported, their color shifting to a deep, concerned indigo. Its administrator, Kelvin. The holographic display materialized to show a harmonious elder, their tendrils nearly white with age, moving in rigid, controlled patterns that seemed almost painful in their precision. When they spoke, their voice carried none of the musical quality Naomi had come to associate with their species. Rebels and human sympathizers, Kelvin's words cut through the air like shards of ice. You harbor evidence that threatens the purity of our race. Surrender now, and we will be merciful. Resist, and we will be forced to implement a full harmonic purge. Dr. Patel's face went pale. A harmonic purge. They'll use our own resonance technology to erase memories, not just of the ruins, but of everything we've discovered, Venn explained grimly. The effect would reach across half the solar system, affecting both humans and harmonious alike. We can't let that happen, Naomi declared, but Lyra raised a hand in warning. There's something else, they said, their tendrils moving in complex analytical patterns. The frequency they're preparing, it's not just designed to erase memories. It would destroy the ancient ruins themselves, vibrating them apart at a molecular level. The weight of the situation settled over the room. Thousands of years of shared history, proof that humans and the harmonious were meant to work together. All of it could be lost in an instant. But Lyra's color suddenly shifted to a bright, determined gold. Unless we could use it against them. Their tendrils extended, interfacing with the Concordia's systems. Complex mathematical equations appeared in the air around them, a symphony of numbers and harmonics that made Naomi's head spin. The purifiers forgot something fundamental, Lyra explained, their voice rising with excitement. They spent so long trying to separate our peoples that they've forgotten why we worked together in the first place. Humans don't just bring chaos to our harmony. They help us see patterns we would never discover on our own. Dr. Patel stepped forward, his scientific mind already grasping what Lyra was suggesting. The ruins, they're not just proof of our shared history. They're a template for how our technologies can work together. Exactly. Venn agreed, his color synchronizing with Lyra's. But we'll need both, human intuition and harmonious resonance, to make it work. The next few hours were a blur of activity. While the purifier fleet held position, preparing their harmonic purge, the crew of the Concordia worked frantically to implement Lyra's plan. Human engineers worked alongside harmonious technicians, their different approaches creating solutions neither species would have developed alone. Naomi found herself working directly with Lyra, their minds meeting in a strange space between human logic and harmonious harmony. Together, they began to understand that the ancient ruins weren't just proof of past cooperation. They were instructions for achieving a perfect resonance between their species. They're powering up their primary systems, Venn reported, his tendrils pulsing with urgent light. We need to act now. Lyra turned to Naomi, their eyes swirling with galaxies of possibility. Are you ready? Once we begin, there's no turning back. Either we succeed in showing everyone the truth, or we lose everything, Naomi finished. She took a deep breath, placing her hand on the crystalline control panel. Let's remind everyone who we really are. As the silencer's harmonic purge began to build, the Concordia's systems came to life with a song that hadn't been heard in thousands of years. the perfect harmony of human and harmonious technology working as one. The ancient mathematics hidden in the ruins flowed through their ship, amplifying and transforming the very discord the purifiers sought to use against them. What happened next would be debated for generations to come. The space between the vessels seemed to shimmer, filled with patterns of light and sound that spoke directly to both human and harmonious consciousness. In that moment, thousands of years of shared history cascaded through the solar system, not as mere memory, but as lived experience. The Purifier fleet hung motionless in space, their weapons forgotten as the truth of their shared heritage became impossible to deny. On planets and stations throughout the system, humans and harmonious alike stopped what they were doing, touched by the echoes of a cooperation so profound it had been written into the very fabric of their existence. But as the light show faded, Naomi realized their victory had come at a cost. The Concordia's systems were failing, strained beyond their limits by channeling such powerful harmonics. And Lyra had gone completely still. Their normally vibrant colors faded to an alarming pale blue. In the aftermath of what would become known as the resonance event, the Concordia drifted in space, its systems barely functioning. Emergency lights cast a dim glow over Lyra's pale form as Dr. Rivera worked frantically to stabilize them. Their tendrils, usually so vibrant with light and motion, lay still against the medical bay's crystalline surface. Their resonance patterns are critically weak, Dr. Pittle reported, studying readings that merged human medical technology with harmonious biorhythms. The energy required to broadcast those ancient memories, it nearly burned out their neural pathways. But before despair could take hold, something unprecedented began to happen. The Silencer, the mighty flagship of the Purifier fleet, was moving alongside them. Instead of weapons, they were broadcasting healing harmonics. Administrator Kelvin's image appeared again, but this time their rigid posture had softened, their tendrils moving in natural, flowing patterns once more. "We remember," they said simply, their voice carrying the musical quality that marked their true nature. "We remember everything." The healing harmonics from the Purifier fleet merged with the Concordia's remaining systems, creating a resonance chamber around Lyra's still form. Naomi watched in amazement as color slowly began to return to their features. The purification was a mistake, Kelvin continued, their age-whitened tendrils now shimmering with regretful blues and hopeful greens. "We were so afraid of losing ourselves that we nearly destroyed something miraculous. Something that was part of us from the beginning." Across the solar system, the impact of the resonance event continued to unfold. The artificial barriers between human and harmonious communities began to dissolve as ancient memories resurfaced. The shared history revealed in those ruins wasn't just about cooperation, it was about completion. Each species carried half of a greater understanding, their differences designed to complement rather than conflict. Lyra's eyes finally opened, their galactic depths swirling with renewed life. "Did it work?" they whispered. "See for yourself," Naomi smiled, helping them to the observation deck. Below them, Europa's surface glittered with new activity. The abandoned research station where they had first found Lyra was now surrounded by ships from both species. Teams of human and harmonious archaeologists worked together, their different perspectives revealing layers of meaning in the ancient ruins that neither could have understood alone. "But there's something else," Venn announced, his color bright with excitement. "The ruins weren't just proof of our past, they're instructions for our future. The mathematics we used to broadcast the memories, they're also coordinates." The holographic display showed a star system far beyond their current reach, marked with symbols that combined human and harmonious script. "Our ancestors left us a map. Lyra explained, their strength returning as they interfaced with the ship's systems. They knew that someday we would need to find our way back to each other, and when we did, we'd be ready for the next step of our journey. The real question, Administrator Kelvin added, having transported aboard the Concordia, is whether we're ready to take that journey together. Naomi looked around at the gathered faces, human and harmonious, former enemies now bound by shared truth. The dividing lines between their species seemed to blur, not into sameness, but into a harmony of differences that made them stronger together. "I think," she said, taking Lyra's hand, while placing her other hand on the ship's crystalline controls, "we've already begun." The Concordia's systems hummed to life with renewed energy, its human and harmonious components, no longer just coexisting, but truly working as one. As they prepared to broadcast their discovery to every corner of the solar system, Naomi realized that the story that had begun with finding a single harmonious hiding in an abandoned station had become something far greater. It was the story of two species remembering not just their shared past, but their shared destiny. The mysterious coordinates beckoned, promising discoveries that neither humans nor the harmonious could achieve alone. The universe, it seemed, had always intended them to explore its mysteries together. As the ship's harmonics aligned with the ancient mathematics hidden in the ruins, Lyra's voice carried both triumph and wonder. "This isn't the end of our story. It's just the beginning of a much bigger one."